even perspective on what it truly means to bring your A game to today's workplace, moving beyond effort and activity towards clarity, value creation, and consistent delivery. Thank you, Mr. Adebayo Adeniji. Sorry, Mr. Adebayo Atenibiaji, and we are happy to have you here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Ololade, thank you very much for the introduction of the panelists. The general idea was for everybody on the platform to be aware of the caliber of people we've brought together to speak on the subject, bringing your A game into the workplace. All right. My own introduction is simple and straight to the point. I was born a couple of years ago, but I spent a lot of my time in the workplace. I started working at 17. I got my first job at 17 as an office assistant. That's a nice way of saying office messenger, if you think about it. And worked that for a couple of months, but I spent 2 years before I got into university, that is, working 5 different jobs. So I already had work experience before I got into university. Post-university, I started at a Standard Trust Bank, went to GT Bank through a training school that was very robust, where I met lovely people like Ahoy on the job. I ended up leaving GT Bank after 13 years, spent another 3 years in 2 other banks. But 10 years ago, a decade ago, I left banking as a senior manager and a regional head. And I've been in the learning and development space and been a chief operating officer in a few companies since then. Anyway, that's my brief summary. The focus today is not me. The focus is you, the employee. So here we go. But just before we begin, I want to appeal to everybody on the call who's here to take something away. Grab a pen and a jotter. Find one close to you. I could give you a minute or two to do that. The conversations we'll be having here can shape your career for the rest of your work life and even beyond. Even if you become a CEO or you're already a CEO, you pick something here you can begin to apply. I have a jotter and a pen. I'm sure my panelists have one around them as well, and I'm prepared to take notes. You can see they're also sharing their own jotters and pens with you. So we've taken this very seriously. We expect everybody else to do the same. Get a jotter and a pen, get ready to write, and get ready to ask questions when it's time for us to begin to ask questions later on. My name again is Kuro John Ngobo, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. And I'll jump straight into it. You see, every organization, right, is created to achieve specific goals. Every organization in the world. The purpose is to achieve specific goals. And truly, entrepreneurs are the ones who make the world go round. Yes, governments make policies, but people who own businesses, hire people, produce goods and services, move money around, and they are the reasons why we are here today. However, there's a very important component of every organization: people. As we all know, there are 4 factors of production. Land, which is given to us, is in the world as we met it. And think about this, by the way. The amount of land or resources we've had in the world from the beginning have remained the same. Okay? Then there's labor, the people who work to turn natural resources into value that organizations can, sell for a fee. Then there's entrepreneur or entrepreneurship, people who start businesses using labor and resources to produce value, and of course, capital, which we most likely refer to as financial capital. Now, the labor part of it, the people who produce the value, are extremely important, and they must come correct when it comes to the workplace. So this conversation is about one thing: bringing your A game to the workplace. That's what this is about. Bringing your A game to the workplace. Now, just before I ask the obvious questions from our facilitators, bringing your A game has a meaning in the workplace. So let me go to the panelists immediately. What does this mean to you? And I'm going to have this question swept across all our panelists, starting, of course, from Ola Adediji. The great thing about each of them, I'll talk about just before they speak for the first time. So Ola Adediji was working in Nigeria in the HR space. We met, we worked together. She's currently in Canada. She has a podcast about workplaces. And I'm going to appeal to her before we finish the session to drop a link directly to the most recent podcast, so everybody can go and watch some more afterwards. But let me ask you first, what does it mean to bring your A game to the workplace? Let's all take 2 minutes to talk about this. Please go on.
Okay, so I can imagine that people would think it's showing up 100% all the time. but I would say is showing up 100% every time you show up. And I always say how you show up is typically defined by those things that are said behind you, behind closed doors when you're not there. And so if you're indeed bringing your A game to work, your reputation goes, it tops the list. It's when people say, and you don't necessarily have to be there 100% all the time, but when you are there, you're constantly showing up as that person that can be trusted, that person that brings solutions to problems, not just the person who comes in and wants to do the bare minimum. Mediocrity and A game, they're two different things. They're far apart. So it's when you show up, you're there 100%, and it impacts on your reputation and every other thing that I'm sure we will talk about today.
Fantastic, fantastic. I can see that Ahoy is already ready to go. So let me just take you on. Do you want to add to that, or you want to share a perspective? Bring in your A game.
I'll just add to what Ola said. And myself and Ola will sit down to talk about it. But yes, continuing from where Ola has stopped, when you talk about A game, we're not just talking about working harder. We're talking about working with intentionality and impact. So today, the goal is to help you see your career through the eyes of the C-suite, so you can stop just occupying a role and then start leading from wherever you sit. Operative word, wherever you sit. I'll leave it at that and let the others talk about it again.
By the way, you just heard someone speak who worked in my opinion, one of the best foundational places to work in the country, Nigeria, and GT Bank. She worked there. And she's moved on to other things in the HR space. I join YouThrive when they have a conversation about the workplace. So I'm also going to ask you at some point to share something with us that allows, be a part of that tribe, or thrive rather. There's a tribe called YouThrive, helps you to thrive at whatever you do, and also bring us up to speed. Thank you very much for that. Murtala, I've known Murtala for, I think, the longest among the panelists, 32 years.
About that.
Thank you very much. So please go on.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so for me, bringing your A game to work means showing up with proactivity and willingness to go above and beyond your job requirements. It's not just enough to show up and just go do the minimum or what is required of you. You have to be willing to go above and beyond your job requirements. Thank you.
Above and beyond your job requirements. All of them have said something similar. The barest minimum is not enough anymore. So Murtala and I went to secondary school together in Kano, been great friends since, and he's brought to the table value every time we have a conversation. Adebayo Atenibi Aja and I did a master's program together. I've had 2 master's degrees, by the way. My first master's degree was in managerial psychology, and it helped me grow in the organization I worked. The second one was in entrepreneurship and innovation. And Adebayo was my coursemate on that master's program. We joined the program in the University of Ibadan and we're the first batch. So they used us as guinea pigs every time. Bayo, bringing your A game to the workplace. What's your take?
Thank you very much. Bringing your A game to work, my own point of view will also align to what Ola and the second speaker said. It means you being consistent at all times. It means knowing that the work in which you do has an impact on the organization, has an overall impact on the outcome of the organization. So as an employee, you must take ownership. You must be focused. You must have clarity of purpose. You must let your own individual vision or goal align with the corporate vision. So that's the way I see it, bringing your A game to work. And you have to be consistent at all time. That's what I would say.
Interesting stuff. I really love if my colleagues would drop the nuggets in the chat section, because I'm taking notes already. Let me share a few of my notes, which is why you must take notes today. You have to, right? So bringing your A game to the workplace is showing up 100% every time you show up. Not every day of your life, not every day you're in the office. Every time you show up in front of people and you have something in front of you. Thank you for that. And what they say behind you when you're not there is extremely important. In fact, I've joined promotion meetings where I know you are not there when they discuss your promotion. All right. I also wrote down working with intentionality and impact, and just stop occupying spaces, right? So you could be in the organogram of an organization and your name is there as X or Y or Z. Are you working with intentionality instead of just organizing and occupying spaces? I heard from Murtala proactively coming to work all the time and a willingness to go above and beyond your job requirements. So maybe when you joined an organization, there was a JD, a job description given to you. Coming to the office, do this, do that. Do you do anything above that, or that's all you do every day? And then I like this one, consistently showing up all the time. And the last one really hit me, making sure that that thing you are doing in your small corner affects the organizational goals. If it doesn't, why are you hired? What's the point? If somebody brought you to the workplace and you are not impacting what they intend to do. Awesome concept. So I want to go from international, then come back local. I'll go straight to Ola first, right? Ola has worked in the Nigerian space. She's currently in Canada. She's advising on many different fronts. And my question goes to you first, all right? Many people in Nigeria think about everybody out there like if the world is different, things happen differently. The system just gives you everything you need. You don't have to stress yourself. I don't know. Based on your experience, what are the major differences between the Nigerian workplace and the Canadian workplace? Let's use that as the example. In terms of employee behavior and expectations, what would be your opinion on that?
Lots of difference, but not necessarily in the fundamental or foundational things. It still boils down to this piece of how we're showing up. So if you talk about the work culture generally, people are a lot more polite here. In Nigeria, I could walk up to someone and say, hey, I don't like you, and that's it. In Canada, I would say the same thing to you in maybe 10 sentences because I get to sandwich it into the good and the bad stuff. So it's a lot lies on you, for instance, as an employee to be able to decipher and say to yourself, what exactly is the feedback they're sharing with me at this point? So communication style, of course, very different. It's less direct here. People are a lot more polite. And so sometimes it's very difficult for you to actually understand or figure out what is being shared back to you. And that happens, that shows up in like feedback. I've also worked with Canadian companies that have operations in the US, and I can tell you that that's even very different. Even over there, despite we're close neighbors, I would say, but that's very different in terms of how that context works. Another piece is the urgency, time and urgency piece. I think in Nigeria, and I'm not going to generalize, but people can condone things. Say, for instance, you've got a timeline. Okay, I can provide context as to why it didn't work out. Around here, you make a commitment, your expectation is you keep to it. If you have a set timeline, things are tracked, you're expected to deliver on it. Decision making, I would say, is also another piece. So in Nigeria, from what I knew, and I speak from my experience, you would typically expect your bosses up to make the decision, and it goes top bottom in terms of this is what we get to do. Around here, it's more collaborative. Even as a manager, I have led teams, so I have been responsible for people, and I'm also an employee who reports into people. I would say when it comes to decision making, it's not the manager or the boss doesn't take the full call. It's we sit down because you want to come off as that manager who is transparent, who is bringing their team along. Else, before you know it, you get a quick disgruntled workforce and everything is shattered. So everybody is brought in largely into how decisions are made. Now, not necessarily that they influence the final decision, but at least your voice is heard. So a couple of those things. But in terms of an employee showing up here, I think one of the biggest pieces is there's ownership. You own the outcome of the work you deliver. It's not a function of your effort. It's a function of the perception of your value. It's not what you think you're putting in, it's how people are perceiving what you're putting in. So I would say it's that ownership, But again, clarity, there's a lot of clarity here. You were told clearly what you need to do, but boils down to my initial point about feedback and communication style. You have to go in between and really figure, did I catch that? Or do I need to ask? And you will save yourself a lot around here asking very thoughtful question is what I'll put, is the way I'll put it. So a couple differences for sure. And even if I do relate it to, I kind of look at the US culture and I'm like, that's almost like in between. It takes a bit of how we are in Nigeria, a bit of the Canadian style, and it's like a mix of it. But generally, those are the common differences. It's, communication, we're very collaborative in decision making, but ultimately you own the impact of your work as an employee. And I think that as the world evolves, even the work culture in Nigeria will probably start to see more and more of that. Because back to your point, every business was created for a purpose. Even the not-for-profit have a goal that they're hoping to achieve. And so at the end of the day, everyone has to take a bit of that ownership. But yeah, those are a couple differences from a top level for starting.
Wow. I'm glad we started like this because so many people still think that the ideal workplace is outside of here in Nigeria. And this is not a conversation about working in Nigeria. Please also note that it's global. You could be in Nigeria and be delivering work for Upwork, people who you go to and they give you stuff to do. So it's not a Nigerian conversation. However, I'd still like to ask, which environment, Ola, do you think places more responsibility on the employee to bring their A game to the workplace and why? Just before I move on to the next panelist, which of the two environments do you think brings more of that responsibility to the employee?
I would say maybe largely Canada. It's interesting you bring up the conversation of work, Upwork. I do a podcast, and so sometimes I collaborate and work with editors or people outside of here. We have very clear expectations. This is what I want. This are the key things or indicators of what I'm hoping that success means, and so I expect you to deliver, regardless of the context you provide. I need my answers. I need my deliverables. So I would say in terms of that, there's a lot more in terms of you know what to do, you're expected to do it. And regardless of how much explanation you have to provide, the expectation doesn't shift.
The expectation doesn't shift. Nice. I like something you said, and that will lead me to talk to Murtala very quickly. Decision making is collaborative. Even though the boss, the leader, the supervisor has the ultimate say, they expect the employee to bring something along while making decisions. So Murtala, let me switch to you quickly. You are a top person in the Nigerian Export-Import Bank today. I've been to your office, I've watched you do your thing, and I've watched you relate with your people in the workplace. So please help us answer this question as clearly as you want, and please let everybody take something from this. From a leadership perspective now, from that helicopter view perspective, how would you define an employee who is bringing their A game to the workplace? That's the first part of the question. And then you've done a bit of that, but what I'm more interested in is this. What mistakes do you see employees make that limit their mistakes? Do you think they make the most? Yes, Murtala.
Okay. Thank you once again. For me, an employee that brings his or her A game to work is an employee that is innovative. These are employees that bring new ideas to the table to solve problems, improve processes. I hate it when I try to show an employee a different way to conduct a task and they say, no, sir, that's how we've been doing it. That shows that you as an employee aren't innovative and you're just behaving like a robot. Employees that bring their A game to work are usually merit driven. they seek to advance their careers through competence, performance, and skill development. I worked in a commercial bank before joining the public sector.
Yes.
So when I joined the public sector, it was like a complete culture shock for me. Because in commercial banks, people run to make their targets, have sleepless nights, and so on, just to get that promotion or even keep their job. Whereas in the public sector, people will tell you that they have spent 3 years on a certain level and therefore they are entitled to a promotion. So A-game employees are top performers who consistently deliver excellence. They consistently dust their KPIs. They just do meet it. They deliver results consistently with no excuses, and are always willing to improve. They engage in self-development. They don't wait for their organization to take them on a training. I repeat, they don't wait for their organization to take them on a training. They identify
say that once more.
skill.
Apologies, please. Can you say that once more? And
slowly. They don't wait for their organization to take them on a training. They identify a skill and they pursue it. Whatever you learn is yours. It's in your head. It's an asset to you. Don't ever make that mistake. If you have some deficiencies in maybe analytical or qualitative issues, just make sure that that self-development, you just enroll yourself. Pay some fees. It doesn't matter. You're investing in yourself and then pursue that skill that you need. Again, employees are always committed to their organizational goals and objectives. They understand the organizational goals and objectives and are always willing to put in that extra effort towards achieving those goals and objectives. You'll see employees staying up late in the office to meet a deadline or even coming on weekends to ensure that the particular task is completed. And they are also good team players and they impact on others. They make the whole team better. They share knowledge, mentor other staff, stay calm in crisis, and always come with positive energy. They see problems as challenges, not roadblocks. They don't wait to be told. They spot gaps and fix them. And lastly, they make their bosses lazy because they anticipate what you need and they do it before you even know it. So you find yourself calling out their names anytime you need something. And people might think, okay, you favor this guy over the... No, but that person makes your job easy because of that ability to anticipate what needs to be done, what is required of that person, and he just does it seamlessly. So in terms of the mistakes that I see, it's usually employees don't like being criticized. And employees need to know that feedback is very important. It might be positive or negative, but it is very important. If you don't get criticized, you will repeat the same mistakes. So as an employee, always ask your boss, after you conclude a task, how can I do this better? That's if the boss is not like open or an engaging boss that will tell you that you're wrong, you need to do it this way or that way. Always ask, how can I do this task better? How can I improve on this task and so on? Those are the kind of, that's one mistake that I know. And then again, a lot of people undervalue or underestimate the value of teamwork. They like working alone. Maybe it's because we as a people are very competitive. There's an old African proverb that says, if you want to walk fast, walk alone. If you want to go far, go as a team or something. It applies to the workplace. If you want to grow fast, you can grow fast. You can grow fast by working in seclusion, delivering exceptional KPIs and so on. But if you want to go far in that organization, you have to be a good team player. Let me leave it at that. Let me leave it there so that my colleagues can say one or two things too. Thank you.
We can't close the session at this point. There's still so much to come. But I have packed so much. I have a full page of notes taking already. I shouldn't be talking, but I'll speak a bit about one or two things that Murtala said. I really loved it when he said, don't wait for them to train you to get trained. It is your responsibility to grow, right? First point. Second point, many times the organization does not know where your gaps are, 100%. All of us in the HR and L&D space, we try. We do appraisals, we do surveys, we do one-on-one interviews, we have conversations. It doesn't always show it. And sometimes the employee's problem is so foundational, we are building on a poor foundation. Let me give you a simple example. Somebody does not understand, for example, how mathematics works. Forgive me, but I'm going to let this sink a bit. Someone does not clearly understand. He doesn't like math, never loved the idea of math. And so putting one number on top of another or by the side of another or multiplying it at the foundational level is a challenge. This person does not need math to work, right? But the person has targets to achieve in any area, from procurement to sales to whatever. When you build on top of that foundation that is not steady, things keep going wrong. And you're wondering, how can you not tell that 65% of this is more than 75% of that? How can you not tell? Okay, organizations may not be able to pull that out. Now, do you need to come to the workplace and tell your HR, please, I need to go for a math lesson? Maybe not. Maybe you should get on YouTube and look for a fun, childish math video to watch. Maybe that's what you need, right? So I really love that. And of course, Ola said so many things as well that I picked up. Time and urgency. I have a quote that I share with people: before is a reason, after is an excuse. One of my colleagues will put it in the chat section and put my name in front of it. Before is a reason, after is an excuse. You are given a time frame to do something, do it before. If you don't get it done before, it is a reason. If you share why you've not done it. If you come after the time frame to say, I didn't do it at 2 p.m., everything you say is an excuse. I'm going to frame this one day and put it on a wall behind me when I speak. But you guys have said so much. And I like the idea of making your bosses lazy. It doesn't mean make them redundant. Just let them know that you're available to get the job done. And that's how you secure promotion. There's so much to chew there, but I must move. There's so many people to speak here, so I'm going straight to my friend. Ahoy and I worked in the same bank, and then at some point she moved into another bank. Today, I can't even tell you what she handles. She handles a lot. But I like the You Thrive tribe. I think people should look in there once in a while. So I'll go to you quickly. I started with the employee in different environments. Ola said something about leadership, so I went there with Murtala, and I'm coming to you with the leadership conversation immediately. So how much influence does leadership have on whether employees bring their A game to the workplace? And where must employees take responsibility regardless? So how much influence does the boss, the supervisor, have with regards to the employee bringing their A game to the workplace? Because some people on this call are not direct reports. They are supervisors on the job. All right, so let's speak to them. Then where must employees take responsibility regardless of the influence of the leader?
Okay, thank you so much, Cora. And I just wish I could just sit and be writing everything. But, I would say, oh, leaders has 50%, but no, that's not the case. However, that's the ceiling for performance, right? By creating psychological safety.
Well.
Can you hear me?
I want to be sure. Ola, can you hear clearly? Adebayo, can you hear clearly? Let me just be sure.
It's not as clear.
No, I can't
Looks like there's a tiny glitch.
There's a tiny glitch.
Okay, maybe that was my network. But can you hear me now?
Okay, it's better now. Better now.
It's clear now.
Nobody here will miss anything. Please go on.
Okay. That I would have been so quick to say, oh, leadership has 60% employee. No. What I want us to understand that leadership sets the ceiling for performance by creating that psychological safety. Ola had said something about feedback. Now, the role of leaders is to ensure that there's feedback. However, the feedback is not coming. Like Ola said, ask for the feedback, right? So in that regard, leadership has a role to play. And will provide the resources necessary for excellence, right? So feedback, set KPIs, ensure you understand, you own it, right? And then ensure the atmosphere, the ambience, the culture is there for you to do the work. However, understand that leaders are responsible for clarity of vision, removing systemic blockers. That's leaders. What to you as the employee, you have a role to play. What's your own ownership? Your development, your professional development, your career is in your hands. You can provide the soil. Let's come back to agri where we all understand the soil. You, the employee, you have the seed. So you must 100% responsibility for your internal motivation. Remember that. So things are not working in the organization. Focus on your focus and professional ethics. That's important. So therefore, you're the employee that everyone knows that is the one that has impact, that adds value. So for that perfect boss, remember that to demonstrate the high level of competence you have. And there's something Kuro was saying before I started talking. He said, for example, you have a problem with maths. It's your competence, it's your personal brand, it's you, Mr. Joe, they call when they know there's this problem. So your career. So you take your personal development very important, seriously. You ensure that your game is your personal brand. Understand that. So for example, I learned a lot in GT where I met Kuroi, right? And they grew me professionally. However, what I have is mine. The knowledge is mine, and I've taken to other places where I've worked, right? So personal brand is your A game. And how do you ensure that works? Taking full responsibility. Someone said 100% every time you show up. I think that was Ola. Important. Understand that independent of your manager's quality. And you also said something, making your manager or your leader lazy. You can't do that when you have what it takes to ensure that happens. So you must bring value at all times. When you question how much influence, it's more about you, because you are the value you bring. So for in rooms when you cannot talk, someone is talking because you've added value. Then in the space of teamwork, you're the one organizing and ensuring everything is working. So I will just leave that at that. And remember always, take responsibility for your career, for your personal development, and your professional development. Thank you.
Take responsibility. I have to watch this again and take a jot and pen and not be a moderator and just write. And honestly, if you're on this call, right, and you have not invited somebody, even now that we've started already, you haven't called somebody else to say, come and listen to what your career needs, then you're not doing people a favor, you're not adding value. Find somebody in your circle. Tell them to before we finish. This is the kind
You're not audible at all.
thing they should have told me when I started my career about what to do in the workplace. And
your audio, Mr. Kuro, I think we have some concerns with your audio.
Okay, my audio better now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, great, awesome. You see, this is I can't skip this. Feedback. Ahoya said it, Murtala said it. Picture me as a moderator without listening to feedback. I would continue talking on the call. They would not mention to me that nobody could hear me. And I did that with Akoya earlier. Imagine that we didn't do that and we continue the session for the rest of today. Some people do not take feedback well. And for anybody who's a lead, a team lead, a boss on this call, or you plan to be, a quick nugget to pay attention to before I go back to the conversation is that feedback should be positive and developmental. We don't call it negative feedback anymore, positive and developmental. So it is feedback that you are doing well or feedback about what you need to do better. But fantastic stuff already as we go along. But I'm not letting you go yet, though. No, not yet. I have one more question or two more. So you mentioned taking responsibility, and this becomes something of importance. What role does self-awareness play in that taking responsibility space? Performance, career progression. What role does self-awareness play? I've heard you speak about this on a platform before, so it's good that I'm bringing this to you now again. What role does knowing yourself play? How important is it?
So, when you know, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So when you know yourself, you know your blind spots, you know your strengths, and that helps you play better as an A-game person, right? Because you know where you flourish, you know where you need support. So self-awareness is the foundation for the A-game. What it does is allow you to understand your blind spots, those behaviors that cancel out your hard work. So for example, you know that you easily get upset and you're in customer service. And guess what? You don't need to sit at the customer service desk to be in customer service. When you're in the service industry, you're in customer service. So you know that those hits that spot. You begin to work on that. So the point of is begin to where your ears become hot. You know how to recalibrate. You know how to then 99, 98, 97, 96, and you're coming down, right? Or you know you're impatient. So what self-awareness does is to help you understand yourself, these blind spots that could be detrimental to your growth. So therefore, you focus on them and ensure you get better on them and doesn't affect your growth. So self-awareness is very important because you can't lead others if you cannot lead yourself first. So if you're not leading anyone at this point, well, you must understand yourself first and understand those things that push your hot buttons, those things that make you happy, those things that are not your strengths. So therefore, if you're given a task and it's in the area where you need development, you quickly look for that team member who understands it. Or even if not team member, like Cora said, go to YouTube. It's the best right now to add value to yourself, what you are struggling with, and you see things where you can learn. So self-awareness, very key, is the foundation for having the A game.
Self-awareness, knowing yourself. Let me give you a tip. Everybody should do this. On this call, please go and do a SWOT analysis. Just write on paper very quickly. 3 strengths, 3 things you are good at. You know you are good at them. Write 3 of them down. This is not a training, don't worry, but we have to deliver value to you. So first, write 3 strengths, 3 things you are good at. Write 3 weaknesses, things you are not good at. If you don't focus on writing them down, first of all, you won't do anything about it, but you must know you. All right. So back to you, one more question before I switch to Adebayo. I'm still talking about the employee here. How can an employee demonstrate leadership and value even when there's no formal authority? Even without formal, this is key because we've been talking about the leader exerting influence. So let's take it now. There's no formal authority, and the scenarios can play out like your boss just resigned, right? Or your boss is on leave, or on this particular task you're supposed to perform, there's nobody supervising you on it. So when there's no formal authority, how does an employee handle that? How do they demonstrate leadership and still bring value to the table?
Yeah, before I answer that, I just want to also add something to self-awareness. You know, when in an organization, you need to align with the values, the visions of that organization. Other than that, you also need to add value that is helping the organization either financially or reputational or whatever. But one thing I want us to understand, that progression happens when you understand how your specific strengths align with the company's values. I wanted to say that before I forget. Progression. Being promoted. Why is this person's name being called at every meeting? Because the person understands how to align strategically with what's important to the organization at that time. So you must always work very hard on things that would add value and move the needle for the business. Remember that. To your question, this other question. Now, is not about titles. I always say to people, you influence people, whether you have a title or you don't have a title. Understand that all the time. All the time. So it's then solving. Do you solve problems? They call if you are just an entry level graduate trainee and people begin to call you, then you have the title. Remember that you addressing pain points. So what I want to take from this call is when you get to work, ask yourself, what's that one thing that I can do that would add value? To recognize you that you're the person who adds value at all times. And then promotion is it's a given. And then in the roles that matter, someone is negotiating for you without you being there. And so it means that you're taking initiative on small tasks. You tell us something. You say you make your line manager or your leader lazy. So call you and say, it's time to. No, you're saying, excuse me, Kura, we've already done this, and what next? You kind of leader, it's not even thinking. That's the question. The person resigns without notice or without even being told. You're already stepping up without even assuming the title because you already do the things leaders do. So you're your peers, you're consistently delivering high quality work. Remember, how fast you do the work, but how accurate or how the quality of the work you churn out is. So what you do is fraught with errors. Again, it's not an A-game person. Remember that. Is what people can depend on, and you're to that meeting and just present without being embarrassed if he or she doesn't read it. So when you become something people go to for clarity or reliability, you're already leading. You don't need the title. Remember always, leadership is influence. Influencing up, sideways, down, but you're adding value. People are going to you for clarity. People are coming to you because you're helping. So that's leadership. You don't need to have the title, but you're influencing and you're doing what you ought to do without being asked.
Wow. I'm okay. I'll try and contain my emotions and just go with the flow. But Akoya said a lot. I mean, Akoya said so much, but I'll pick a few things that I think you might have missed because they were muffled somewhere along the line. One very important thing about being a leader is you don't need a title. Just be the go-to person who solves problems. I picked something else that employees miss a lot. That you must align your strengths and your tasks with the organization's goals. I put it to everybody on this platform today. The organization you currently work for, do you know what their goals are? I didn't ask if you know the vision and the mission statement. I hope you do, because that helps. And that tells you where they are going, what they plan to do. But frankly speaking, do you know what is going on in the head of the CEO and the CFO? Everybody in the C-suite. By the way, C-suite is just everybody C. CEO, CFO, CHRO, CTO. Do you know what's going on in their head? Because if you do the best work and it does not add to what the organization is chasing, then it's seen as work that nobody needs. And it doesn't have to be in your JD. It just means you've done it and you've moved the needle for the organization. Awesome feedback, I keep saying so, but I've not spoken to Adebayo Atenibi yet, so I'm coming to you now. Bayo and I were in a master's program together, like I said, and there were a few people, well, it was a small class, but there were a few people in the master's program who you could tell would think through things before they speak. I never told Bayo this. It was in 2017, we had that program, so I'm putting that out here now. So let me come to you quickly. Why do some employees work hard, but still fail to stand out? You can add to what has been said before. People wonder, I resume at work at 6 a.m., I close at 10 p.m. In fact, I have a camp bed in the office. All right. I'm always available weekends, middle of the night, but somehow it still feels like they're working hard, but they still don't stand out. They're not the people that, everybody that's spoken before has talked about, the people they call on regularly, mention their names, promote. Why do you think that is the case? Adebayo.
By taking us back to the fact that we were employed
in an organization, manager, because
Adebayo, can you hear me?
We can't
Adebayo,
hear
can you hear me? Yes, that's what I'm asking. Adebayo, can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. I like the
Okay,
bridges
sorry.
there. Go on, please.
Okay. Thank you very much once again. I would like to start by saying every individual that an organization hires, or every individual that works in an organization, were hired by the hiring manager because of one uniqueness that person was bringing to the table or brought to the table during the interview section. So as an employer, or as an employee rather, who wants to stand out in an organization, the person has to be, one, strategic. So one of the reasons why individuals or employees keep working hard and not being seen is because they are not strategic. I will go by this quote that I have at the back of my mind right from when I've been growing up. My mom used to say this. She says that in Yoruba in particular, she will say, that means when you're being given birth to, you have to rebirth yourself. So as an employee or as an individual working in an organization that has a goal, that has a culture, that has a vision in mind, you need to keep on rebuilding yourself. MD has mentioned, he mentioned that you have to identify trainings that you need to put yourself into. You don't wait for the organization to identify your training needs. You have to ensure that part-time you do that SWOT analysis in which Kuro mentioned. And in being strategic means that in the era in which we are, there are trainings that would make you stand out. Artificial intelligence is one of it. Emotional intelligence, which Kuro is a master, is one of it. If you're not emotionally intelligent, you won't know when to stop working hard. You won't know it. And you also need to know that, or identify the value you want to bring to the table at every point in time. So one of the reasons why people, or what actually make people stand out, is that they choose impact over activity. What impact are you making at every point in time when you show up? Yes, you're showing up consistently, but you are the lousiest, or you can be the lousiest amongst the group. You're showing up consistently, but you're not a team player. So your impact must be felt at every point in time. You're showing up consistently, but you've not absorbed the culture of the organization. You're showing up consistently, but you've not owned the vision of that organization. You don't know how well you could work with your boss. You don't have that way to manage relationship. And that's talking about, for instance, people who are in sales and business development. You have to also know how your daily work aligns with the revenue of the company. I know of sales individual while I was in sales in the financial service who just wants to make sales. They don't know what their sales value impact the overall performance of the organization. So amongst other things, and what the other panelists have mentioned, those are the few things I could mention that made individual keep working hard and not strategically, so that they could stand out.
Everybody on the call, clock this. You have to clock this. I'm trying to make it into a short, like a quote we can hang somewhere as well. Obaya has just struck a nerve, a good nerve for me, a happy one. Strategic work is not hard work. Then he tried to explain it somewhat. Impact over activity. So I'd say strategic work is impact, not activity. Somebody should, in fact, I need to say thank you to the people who have been dropping nuggets in the chat section. Everybody on this call, just keep going there. The notes you should be taking, they've been taking them for you. I note this one very clearly. Impact over activity. You can do hard work. You can get things done. But if they take your work and plug it into what the organization is trying to achieve, does it move the needle? Please ask that question of yourself. It's extremely important. Hard work is not strategic work. You can be stressed, you can have sleepless nights, but when they take that thing you've done, that you're excited about, and they plug it into what the organization wants to achieve, whether long term or in the immediate, does it move the needle? Does it affect that goal? Thank you so much. But I'm glad that we put the right kind of questions together, one, and we put the right kind of panelists together. If in case you didn't notice, let me do a quick, broad spectrum spanning of panelists you have been talking to all day. Someone who's worked in HR in Nigeria. We work together. In fact, Ola, I want to bring up some nostalgic feelings in you. Can you see this? It works.
I'm screaming. You did.
I didn't see that.
Oh, you didn't see it?
Yeah.
It's a company that's been taken over by another company now, but that's where I met Ola. And I have a souvenir from there. I brought it specifically to do that to her. Yes.
I'm screaming.
So she worked in Nigeria in HR, then ended up in Canada. And she didn't go to Canada to be an employee. She's changing the narrative. I repeat, go and check out her podcast. One person to bring perspective from out there and in here. Bayo is doing things globally. You heard him talk about how the healthcare space in the UK is something he's working on. Meanwhile, he's worked as a normal employee before now. Bayo also posts. He started posting every day on LinkedIn. I know why it slowed down, right? But I've been going to LinkedIn every day for about 2 or 3 weeks to read one post every day about how you can bring your A game to the workplace. And that's why we brought him here. Okay. So he was first HR in GT Bank. It was HR in another bank. We met there as well, SunTrust. And then currently, I think she's juggling 3 roles that I know of. I don't know of the remaining ones. Wow. But what she always tries to do is to get people to be the best they can be. That's why You Thrive as a community was set up in the first place. I found it difficult keeping a community, so I've left these people like her. Murtala came from a commercial bank where targets, get it done, is the way we work, right? And then he moved to public sector. And he said something that I've seen at play. People in public sector in Nigeria who will tell you, slow down. Why do you want to kill yourself? And I say, no, we have to get this done. So sometimes I'm in his office in Abuja and I'm seeing him talk to customers, colleagues, and this keeps playing out. So we wanted a wide spectrum. If you work in public sector, you find something here. You're in the private space, you're an employee, you are somebody who leads people, you want to jackpot, or you are already abroad, something you'll find. You always find something here to address the concerns. Please note, we are still taking questions at some point, right? We still have an hour to go, an hour and a half, but we'll stop at some point and give you 30 clear minutes just to take your own questions. I'm not done with Bayo yet. You mentioned consistency the first time I asked you about the A game that people bring to work. So please, what does consistency look like in employees who are considered top performers? What does it look like to you?
Well, consistency in top performers is not about the intensity of work you bring to the table. It's about reliability. And I know you particularly understand, and I know MD and other panelists understand that it's about being reliable. For instance, in the Nigerian financial service sector, if you have a target and you need to meet up with that target, are you reliable as an employee enough to meet up with that target? Will you do it in the first quarter? Will you meet it in the second quarter? Will you meet it at the end of the quarter at the end of the year again? So consistency means you deliver the same level of excellence at every point in time. You prioritize what matters. You manage energy, not just time. You have the capacity to bring all stakeholders together, and you do it consistently at all times. If you're in the customer service, you meet customers' need at every point in time. Not today. For instance, individuals who are employees don't know that their stress level could also impact on how they work. So your well-being also matters. So if you're not consistent with your health and well-being, it could impact the way you work. So like I said earlier, for top performers,
the intensity is not about intensity, it's about how reliable are you, how your manager, your line manager can rely on you at every point in time, how you can manage energies and not just time, how consistent you are with your emotions. Do you snap at your colleague at any point in time? Are you a team player? Do you manage that relationship with your colleague? Because there are soft skills that could take you ahead of your other colleagues. If you don't have those soft skills and you have the technical skills, you might not be able to get to managerial. So those soft skills are required for you to be seen as a top performer consistently. So it takes us back to identify the needs that you need to meet or that are deficient in your developmental phase as an employee. Try as much as possible to fill that need through trainings and all. So that's all I could say for now. Maybe I'll be able to add on to what consistency means in the next question.
Okay, so consistency, like you put it, is repeated. In fact, this is the way you said it. It's reliability, not intensity. So some people get something to do and they put their heart into it, they put their lives into it, then they get it done. The question is, can you get it done at a certain level repeatedly? I want to share this the way you put it. It does not mean being perfect. What it means is being reliable. If I hand this over to this person, can I go to sleep? In fact, put it that way. If I hand this over to this person, can I go to sleep as a supervisor? And we know that it's going to get done. All right. I like the way you put that. And if you're a supervisor or a team member here, you should be taking those notes prior or before you go. For that consistency to apply, because it's the consistency, or rather the reliability, that will keep you growing. What behaviors are no longer acceptable for employees who want to grow in today's workplace? I asked Murtala that in a different way. What mistakes do people make? I'm asking you in a different way. What behaviors are no longer acceptable in the workplace today if you want to grow?
I think we used to think that is lack of skills that is no longer acceptable. But in the workplace today, it's your inability to own task, lack of clarity, not being adaptable. Because, for instance, if you have to move location or culture, for instance, if you leave an organization with a different culture and work ethics, are you able to adapt in this new organization that has a way different work ethics? MD was talking about the fact that when he was in the private financial service sector in Nigeria and he moved to the public sector, that the culture there is way different and he almost got a shock, but he adapted. So what I'm saying in essence is the behaviors like adaptability, clarity, ownership, your ability to be able to innovate, your ability to be able to think outside the box. Those behaviors are the ones that are acceptable now. Those behaviors that will translate to impact. Behaviors that are not acceptable are behaviors that looks like, oh, one, I'm busy with everything, that are not moving the table. One, I'm waiting for instructions to just get tasks done. I'm waiting on my boss every other time. I'm waiting on my line manager to pass instructions to me. It shows that you have high dependency on individuals. No one will want to hand over leadership to someone who depends on the other before taking task. Yes, you should obviously defer to your boss in any regard, but you should not always depend on the fact that an instruction has to be given to you before you kickstart anything. Avoiding accountability, not being accountable to someone. A timeline is set to you to deliver on a particular task, and you're not letting your line manager know if there are bottlenecks, if there are problems you're facing. You're not accountable to any leadership authority. Sometimes it could be just you prefer to be a lone worker, but in one way or the other, people who are assessing you, who are praising you, will see that you're not accountable in that regard. Another task things that people do is that they resist change. A new innovation or something is coming into the organization, and you see a set of people that talks about it negatively. They are trying to resist the change. They don't want that change to occur. Those behavior are not acceptable in recent time. Inability to communicate effectively, and communication is very important in the organization in this era. You can't be silent in a room where you have to talk. At every point in time when you have to be in a meeting, have something to say and let it be valid, let it be meaningful, let it contribute, let it be impactful. And that's how you could stand out. An inconsistent performance.
Interesting. I don't want to leave the subject yet because there must be more. So this is sweeping across panelists. What would you add to that as behaviors that people should ditch in the workplace? Of course, there are many things to consider, but let's start with behaviors. Maybe we want to add one or two more, and I want all the panelists to speak on it. So who wants to go first? Ola, let's start with you. One or two things that you would say you have to ditch this kind of behavior to grow in the workplace today.
I would say in simple terms, if your manager sits down today and they're thinking about what their concerns are on their team, you don't want your name on the list. So Adebayo was talking about being reliable. That's one of it. Like, on top of everything he said, it's when your manager says, oh, I have certain concerns, whether it's behavioral, whether it's people issues that I've got to fix, you don't want your name on it. And I'm sure Ahoy can relate to this. As HR folks, we know two kinds of people, the ones doing extremely well and the ones doing extremely poorly. And that's when your name gets to our desk for the most. So it's, you're reliable, but again, you're seen as that person that when there is a problem, you're coming forward with solutions. So if Kura was my manager, I'm saying, hey, I've come to you to say, this is the bottleneck that I'm facing right now. However, this is how I'm thinking about solutioning. You're not bringing one more problem to dump on your manager's desk. So when we're thinking, which employees, if I supervise 10 people today, which ones are my problems, your name shouldn't be on the list.
Deep, very deep. Before I move, I remember watching the video. I wanted to show the video today, but I said, let's not do that. Let's just talk. There were two people at the desk working on laptops, right? And one was obviously the supervisor, the other one was the team member. And so at some point, the team member guy shows the supervisor his laptop, like, I have a problem, right? And then there was a number on top of the supervisor's head. It moved from 99 to 100, which means the supervisor now has 100 problems. You who has one has come to dump yours on him. So I had to tell my team members when I was in banking once exactly what Ola said. If you come to me with a problem, bring a potential solution. That I am senior to you only means I've spent more time on this, or I have a title you don't have. You have a brain, you have a mind, you can think. And guess the most interesting part? This problem is your problem. Why is it my problem to, anyway, let me not get excited about that. Thank you very much. Yes. What would you add? Behaviors you must ditch if you want to grow in the organization. And please, my colleagues, people are still in the waiting room, coming in and going out. Please keep checking the waiting room and letting them in. And thank you very much, everybody typing in the chat section. The nuggets are awesome. Please go on. You have to unmute. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I can. Yes. One behavior you must ditch. You don't have control over the culture, the ambience, what's not working with leadership. Focus on your focus. What's you are bringing? What's you're doing to be that impact person that's adding value? See, victim mentality. It's not working for me. Oh, the organization don't love me. Excuse you, focus. So ditch that. So it's not your your area of influence. What you can influence, work on it. This mentality, this organization is not working, this organization promotes. It's not your business. You the only person they have to promote if they need to promote. So service don't work. For a minute, not sustainable. Watch the boss's car. It's for his wife, for his children, if you don't genuinely mean it. Focus on the work. You that the boss will call you. We call and say, this is what's happening. I need to do this now. In the next 2 hours, he turned it out. And he's happy going to present it. He will always remember you. You don't need to give eye service or, excuse my French, lick asses. Do away with it. It won't help.
You're excused. You're excused. I excuse you 100%. And I dropped something in the chat section to speak to that. We'll be taking your questions very soon, everybody else. There's this prayer I've always known and I share a lot, the Serenity Prayer. Serenity just talks about the calmness of your mind. And I learned this prayer a long time ago. It's helped my life. You can adopt it. The shorter version exists. I've put a longer version. God grants me the calmness of mind to accept the things I cannot change. Like who's your boss? You can't change that. Who's the MD? There are many things you can't change, like she just mentioned. The courage to change the things I can. So you don't complain about something that you can't change and let it be. And then the wisdom to know the difference. The day you know the difference between what you can change and what you cannot change, peace of mind comes your way already. Awesome concepts. MD, Murtala Baka, behaviors people should ditch to grow in the workplace.
Oh, thank you once again. I really like what Bayo said, and I will be using his quote from time to time, which is impact over activity. What mistake that most employees make is a lot of them feel that job done or hours spent on an activity equals job done. That is why I usually term this kind of people as working hard but hardly working. So just focus on what needs to be done, direct your energy towards it, and make sure that your energy or what your skills are aligned to the organizational or departmental goals and objectives. Don't be one of those people that will be working hard and then be hardly working. And that's it for me. They've said it all. Thank you.
My only question to myself is, why am I moderator? Why am I not, sorry, with somebody sitting down, just taking notes and learning? And second point for me is, why didn't they do this when I started my career? My life would have been different. I'm sure all my panelists are thinking the same thing. That somebody put you in a room and did this to you before you began to work. That made a huge difference. I'm going to detour a bit, right? I'm going to detour a bit because I've been getting nudges from participants. We have questions. And I'm like, calm down. Let's listen to people first. But I might have to oblige them for the next 10 minutes, all right? Rather than wait till the very end. So at this point, you have the rare privilege and honor of raising your electronic hand if you have a question to ask, and we'll take the question. Let me give you guides to the kind of questions you can bring to the table. No, to the way you present the questions. You don't have to say, I have a problem, or this happened to me, right? In fact, you can easily say, this happened to somebody I know. After all, you know yourself. Don't you know yourself? You know yourself. Yes. So nobody is looking at you funny and profiling you. Just speak to the problem as a problem, or ask the question as something somebody is dealing with. So I'll take the first. I haven't had the question. I've not even finished. Hands have gone up already. Okay. So Gbenga Adekwetu, funny enough, I know quite a number of people here as well, but I won't share all those details. Gbenga, let's speak to you first. Question for the participants, for the panelists, but please note, it will be great if you make your question to the point and concise so that they can address it properly. All right. And if you want to ask a question and point to a panelist, that's fine. Or just leave it floating. One of us will pick it up. Gbenga, you're going first.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the wonderful presentation so far. Thank you so much, Mr. Koro. Thank you, everybody. All right. My question is this. I've seen people on this panel having to study psychology, study finance, study leadership, and have quite an array of, broad, spectrum of lines of business, lines of study. So how did you tend to marry it? How did you tend to, harness this body of thoughts? Example, okay, I did accounting, my ND, I did business admin, BSc, I'm doing finance now. Okay, they look related, all right? So having to now go to psychology, having to go to leadership and study, how do you marry those thoughts? I know at some point in time, yes, those things will be needed, will be as an input for, to get better at workplace. But how did you, somebody say, okay, I don't know mathematics, but now I'm doing finance and in my third year and I'm seeing trend analysis, I'm seeing linear programming, I'm wondering, goodness, how do I cope with this? I'll start get somebody to teach me from accounting class. So please, how do you tend to put your mind to go through all these trainings and have to cram some time and all that? So thank you very much. That's my question.
Interesting. Which panelist? This one I'm leaving it free. I have answers of my own, but I'm not speaking to it. Who wants to go first? You Thrive is in my head, but I'll pick any. You see, I was correct. I have spiritual intelligence. I said You Thrive, and a hand came up. Please go on.
Okay, so again, the question you need to ask yourself, Benga, what's important to you? You're already reading these courses, and you do or you get involved in, there must be what's the future goal for this, right? You said ND, you had this, BSc, now this. So in time, there's a reason why you entered these different courses. Your question is, how do you then marry this? Fits in at the end. Or your everyday life. An example, my degree is in microbiology, right? Those of us that wanted to be doctors, right? Helping our parents. It didn't work out. I can't stand blood, right? And I tried. I actually worked in 4 hospitals, but it didn't work. I just couldn't do it. Then my second degree in human resources and organizational psychology. That's where I found people I'm happy, right? Connect the dots with knowledge. This experience also brings into play your interaction with either when you work or interaction with people, relationships. See you're doing, you fit in. That's for you is to put your mind to it. Is to put your mind to it and get as much as you can from it. For me, it might be, it's difficult. Getting people to help you helps. YouTube helps. The future goal is that everything will tie in, because I'll show you it's going to tie in.
Interesting. Everybody speaks to this. I'll speak last. Sola.
Okay, I can just, I'll just pick it up from where you left off. You did say what's important to you. I think that's one of the greatest questions any human would ever ask themselves on earth. There are a couple of things that you tend to, as you grow, as you nurture yourself. We talked about self-awareness earlier. What are your values? What are the things that are important to you? And as you move up, it's purpose. When I'm no longer here, what do I want to be said about me that I left off as some form of legacy? I heard someone put it this way, that when I leave the world, I want to be empty. And so, for instance, if you ask me today, I do a couple of things. Yes, there's HR in front of it, but at the end of the day, there's some career coaching. I call myself a diversity DEI advocate, and that comes from my own lived experience, because again, as we experience things, things are different. But sitting back, like you said, I always say that at the end of the day, everything comes together. But whilst you're trying to figure what that actual picture looks like, the important question is, what's important to me? What have I done? What do I have now? And then see how that can help you just shape up. We get into things a lot of times, we never see the full picture. But it's even just that courage to say, it's ambiguous right now. I don't know where this is taking me, but I'm willing to put my head in it and I'll keep going. So at the end, everything connects. It's called congruence. It's your skills, your behaviors, everything comes together at the end of the day. So don't feel like there's the pressure for you to, okay, so what do I study next? Or just move on with that line of purpose. What's important, and other things will fall in place. That's all I wanted to add there.
Nice. Adebayo. If you notice, Gbenga, our panelists have had different things going on, and it's coming together. But let me listen to Gbenga quick. I'm sorry, Adebayo.
Well, for me, I would like to say, Gbenga said he's studying finance. He has done management, and
business
he
admin,
was talking
accounting.
about linking it to psychology or something.
Yes.
But I would like to say that those courses find a way of aligning. If you look at finance, if you look at psychology in itself, you will see that psychology is the study of how people think, feel, and behave. Am I right, Mr.
Yes.
Kuro?
Yes, yeah.
So, and if you look at finance in itself, you see that you need to, in some cases, when you have knowledge of, maybe a bit of knowledge in those areas you've mentioned. I'm not saying you have to go on and start all over again or pick another new course that is way different from what aligns with your purpose. If you remember, the two speakers who have spoken ahead of me have talked about you have to do something that aligns with what your core purpose is. So, but if it's just for knowledge sake, psychology still aligns with what you've studied. And it could make you know how people think and feel, how they behave around money and their finances. So one way or the other, if you're picking a course or a career, let it align with what your purpose or the goal you're trying to achieve in your career. For instance, for someone like me, I had a background in BSc, banking and finance, while my first master's was completely way different because I had a mentor speak over me to say, there's an available role somewhere in adult education, go and do a master's in adult education, and that role is waiting for you. Mr. Kuro could be aware of that when we were doing our master's, the second master's. And at the point I was confused, and while in the class, I was in the second semester of that master's, and I felt this place wasn't for me. I pulled out and waited for the next admission, and that was when entrepreneurship and innovation started at the University of Ibadan. And I took on the course, and that particular course, I could say is a stepping stone or a level plane or a ground for me to do whatever I'm doing at the moment. So because it widened my horizon, it still aligns with where I am coming from, banking and finance, and these industries in which I've played at those points. But before I hand over to Mr. Kuro, we will hand over to maybe the next question, person answering question. I want to talk about one particular thing I think I missed while I was talking about consistency. While I was talking about consistency, or behavior that you should not do at work. This behavior is talking to people who work remotely, and people who work remotely, and that behavior is the fact that you should not be silent while you're thinking you're working remote. You should possibly interact with people because that can be very tempting. I don't know if I answered Benga's question. I just wanted to use that to add to my first question that was asked by Mr.
Earlier. No, that's fine. Guess what? Benga won't get one answer because he's not getting textbook responses. Note, everybody's sharing experience, and I'll be honest with you, I'd rather take that than go to AI and ask for something. MD needs to speak on this. How do you bring all these things together? That's his question. That's Benga's question. So, Mutala, you are MD here. Please shoot. What would you say to him?
Yeah, so the other speakers have said it all. So this goes out to every other participant or every participant. Be sincere with yourself. What are your goals and objectives? You as a person, you're responsible for your life and your career growth. So you can decide to change course at any point in time. So keep learning. The only constant thing in life is change. And then the day you die is the day you stop learning. So just keep learning. Changes will come, change costs, change with the tide. There's nothing wrong in switching careers, switching what you studied. And then, as I said, keep learning. Thank you.
Before I take Ortega's question, his hand was up for a while. I'm sure it was hurting him. Let me share something with Gbenga. Gbenga, you already are aligning from business admin to accounting to finance. You're doing the same set of things.
Yeah.
The only thing you said is, I want to add psychology. Bayo said something. Psychology is simply the study of human behavior. And there's a psychology of finance. It's
Yes,
a psychology of money. So you're already in that space. My story, let me help you a bit. I studied geography for my BSc. I did a master's in managerial psychology. The reason was not what most people think. It was because I wanted to be a full manager quickly in banking, and I wanted to understand how management thinks. That's why I did the master's. All right, my first master's. My second master's was in entrepreneurship and innovation. I was kind of sure, that I would soon leave banking and become an entrepreneur. I didn't know what to do yet. Somebody Bayo and I know walks into the bank I was working in then in UBA. I was picking up a form for that same course. When he mentioned the course, it struck a chord. So I wrote the assessment, I passed, and I did it. I've done other things today, but guess what? Every time I show up, every experience of mine, everything I have learned, everything I put down comes to play. So I think you're on the right path. Trust me. And I like Murtala's closing words. The day you stop learning, the day is the day you start dying. So please don't stop. I have Tega's hand up. Ortega, your hand was up earlier. Then Mazida will come in next. Ortega, you had your hand up, and I want to take your question, then Mazida. Please go on.
Good morning, sir. Thank you so much. I want to begin by saying let's all protocol be observed. Thanks for the composition of your panelists. My question would be directed to all your panelists, but basically I will be picking on Mr. Bayo. Bayo, I'm very sorry if I'm picking on you.
Okay.
You talked about stress level can impact the way we work. I agree completely with you. You see, I so share your vision. I agree completely with all you said. I live on the mainland and I work on the island. You understand what that means already. There is already a stress level for me. Yesterday, it took me, yes, in Lagos. It took me more than 3 hours to cross the mainland, to cross from just VI to cross the third mainland bridge. There is already a stress level. And we are talking about giving, I feel we are talking about a game at work. And your MD, the one you call MD, he said we should go beyond 100%. Now, stress level. After crossing that third mainland bridge, you come home, you still take care of other responsibilities. Your family, yourself, all these are stresses that are supposed to also impact the way you work. And I'm in sales in my company. Sales, we don't look at all the efforts, whether you run from Agege to all over Lagos. The result is what they look at. What did you bring in this week? Because our system is you have a core plan, daily core plan, weekly core plan, and your result is what they measure your success with. Now I want to do A, but I have stresses. And don't forget, the stress I also go through, my organization go through such stresses because now in the office, many people don't go home. They stress the facility in the office. The water in the office is stressed. Energy in the office is stressed. So the company is already stressed. I am stressed. I want to also look for other streams of income to survive. When I do that, so the question now to the panelists, I am looking for other streams of income to survive. But I see I'm expected to give a or above 100% in my place of work. How do I balance it? Mr. Bayer, maybe we need to come to this discussion in another day where you also be one of the panelists, because when you were breaking it down, you talked about emotional intelligence, artificial intelligence, all this. There are lots so much to learn from this. Mr. Kuro, thanks so much for giving me this privilege. I don't know if your panelists will be able to look at the stress I go through, the stress my company go through, and I also expected to give in above 100%. Thank you. I may have many questions, sir, but let me just stick to this one for now. Thank you so much, sir.
Mr. Tega, my guy, if you live in Lagos, you will be very clear about what he's talking about. And all of us have either lived in or worked in Lagos. I'll let Bayo speak to that very quickly. I have something to share, then I'll take Mazida. Stress levels, A game on the job. Bayo, you're muted. Please unmute your mic.
Okay, so are you saying I should go now?
Yes, please go on.
Oh, that's a lot. But sincerely, Ortega, thank you for sharing your reality, sincerely. In 2009, I think, when I started, after my NYC 2008, I lived on the mainland, Igondo Egon to be precise.
Oh, wow.
And worked in Sinari Daranijo and on VI.
In Victoria Island.
Yes. So I understand quite what you're saying. So it might not be my reality now. That's I might not be able to relate exactly with what it is at the moment, but I quite understand what stress level can do to your performance. So you were trying to talk about how you want to manage that stress and still perform at your top level. I think that reality, well, that reality for me would be, one, at every point in time, maybe when you wake up in the morning, I think maybe you have a plan, like you said. You talked about your core plan based on work, but you can break down the skill in which you want to learn, and I'm going to focus on that part, in which you want to learn, into bits. Maybe while in traffic. I know the traffic in Lagos can be hectic and noisy. For me, I might not be able to learn in that environment, but you should know what works for you. If you can break down what you want to learn to improve yourself, for instance, the business you want to do now or do you want to do in the nearest 6 months, if there's a skill you need to learn to make that business effective, you can do that while in transit. That can help you. And also, when you have the opportunity to rest, you rest. While I was working in Lagos at that time, I leave home around 4:30 a.m. in the morning to resume for a 9 o'clock walk. And what I do that helped me was the fact that I joined a colleague or a friend of mine who drives. He drives. Then we get to EcoBank in the morning. He parks at the EcoBank's Transnational car park. When he does that, we relax for a few periods, maybe two hours before I go to resume, and that would make me regain that part that I've lost. So you should also know how to relax, how you want to relax. I don't sincerely know how it works right now, but I know the pressure with workplace in Nigeria is way different from where I operate at the moment, and Ola and other people could attest. So that reality, yes, there is still a general way you can manage stress, and some of it stems down to how you were able to break down your task and plan your day ahead. That's what I was saying.
Thank you. I'm going to Ola to answer a part of his question. How do I seek extra income in spite of the kind of work I'm doing today? Having explained the Lagos experience, you also worked in Lagos. So that's what I want to ask you. What can I do to help me get extra income? Because the balance is not balancing.
Is there an actual struggle? Yes, I believe I believe so. And I worked in Lagos, and I do understand the realities of that for sure. Maybe I didn't stay as far as Bayo did, but again, I lived in Yaba, worked in VI, had to make some tough choices, get my kid to be closer to me on the island, all of that. But I think if there's one thing I would share, it's whether or not you want to seek extra income. It's more just zoning down to how can I be efficient for every time that I have in that moment. So it's almost can feel like pressure because you're always on the go, but it's more, am I supposed to attend? For instance, I get to work. Okay, I have 3 things that I need to deliver on. Could this one be an email and get out of my way? Do I necessarily need an hour meeting for everything that I need to do? So it's more thinking from the lens of efficiency. So yes, if the stress is there, you're not going to think you have enough time, but it's how do you get the most value from the time that you have? So whatever that is in your day-to-day Ortega, it's looking at it very differently every time you show up. When you're at work now, okay, I've spent 3 hours in traffic, but what could I be doing in traffic? And then when I get to work, my goal is I want to achieve my sales target, right? So what should I be doing? That could mean some mindful practices for you. It could mean doing a lot of to-dos more. So people who have worked with me, for instance, will say, oh, you're very organized. No, I learned to be organized because I realized I could be forgetful. So what do? I throw everything in my calendar. My calendar is my warehouse. When you do see it, both personal and work calendar, everything goes into it. So I never miss a timeline. I set it so if I do have a timeline for 2 weeks' time, I'm putting it in to say I need to be able to break it into milestones. I should have this meeting. I should have this call at this time so that I can deliver for when that timeline is set. So look out for ways that you can work more efficiently. If that means investing in a few basic tools, Calendly, like I don't know your exact word, but whatever it is, what you can automate. I mean, we're in the age of AI, which makes it even better. Do that, but look to maximize a lot of efficiency from the time that you have. And that way you find that you're still being an A player, but then regardless of the constraints. I mean, and that's the reality, I believe, for everyone. I am a mom. I always say when I'm not working, I'm a full-time mom to 2 active boys, and I have a whole day's job. And I mean, in government administration, you never sleep. The light is always on because we serve a community of people. So it's how can I be efficient in the time that I have to invest? Either it's in work or in business, or it's in the passive income ventures that you're trying to build.
Interesting. It's good that you mentioned calendars. I went to fish mine out. So I use this to plan. Now, I know you can automate stuff. You can use Calendly. I'm old school. If you are not go to court. I like my handwriting. I learn more when I write stuff. It goes to my brain. So I just write stuff down. I've been using this for 3-4 years. Apart from that, I think something else you can do that can add to this quickly, then I'll take Mazida's question, is this. Learn to delegate. I think you should add that to it. There are certain things that you do not have to do yourself. You can learn to delegate them. So I know you are heading a sales team. You have 1 or 2 people, working with you. And I hope that that's still the case. There are certain things people can do that you don't have to do yourself. And there's this simple trick that helps me tell what should be delegated. Go and look for the urgent, important matrix. Also called the Dwight Eisenhower matrix. It tells you so I do this every Sunday evening. Excuse me, I settle down to write what I need to do next week. I try. Sometimes it fails, but I try. What am I doing next week? If it's urgent and important, I'm doing it on Monday. If it's urgent, but not important, I'm delegating it. It must be done on Monday, but I don't have to do it myself. Call the person, send the email, I delegate that. If it is important, but not urgent, means it needs to be done, it can solve problems, but it doesn't have to be done on Monday. I'll schedule it for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Because if you don't schedule it, then you don't do it. Then if it is neither urgent nor important, I dump. But what I do most times is to archive it and say, I'll come back to you if I have time. Now, this has saved me a lot. I'm still busy, I'm still running around, but that helps a bit. So take that. I want to add something to this before I bring Mazida to the floor to ask her question. So please go on. By the way, for all the panelists, please note, my next question to start preparing for it would be, how can I bring my A game to the workplace if I have remote or hybrid work? So I've asked you already. I'm coming to that next after Mazida. But Akoya, please go on.
Okay, so very quickly, I wanted to add that you must be very cognizant of the fact that because of the commute, the time, your energy is drained and all that. So you must always shift from time to impact. Now, what does that mean?
Oh,
Outcome over activity. So instead
thank
of trying to
you.
give 100% of your time, which is impossible when you're exhausted, give 100% of your focus, the 3 critical tasks of the day. So that you are doing very well and you've done well, right? Then you then apply the 80-20 rule. You know how that works. You identify 20% of your work that creates 80% of the value for your boss or your company. Then you prioritize your energy. So your energy is the highest, maybe when you get to work early that morning. Focus. Don't try to do things when you're so tired when you get home in the night or you're on the way home. So what I just want you to put in mind, outcome over activity, focus your 100% of a focus on 3 most critical tasks for today, then your 80-20 rule, 20% of your work that creates 80% of the value you need to give. So that also would help because of the circumstances you're in. Thank you.
Fantastic. We're having a full training session here, not just a panel conversation. But guess what? People who take the most value are usually the people who ask the most intelligent questions. Murtala, do you want to say something to Ortega before I move to Mazida? Or should Mazida ask her question and you should start answering? I think we should do that. Mazida.
Yeah, so no, let me just finish. Yeah, so Ortega, you've heard a lot from the panelists, so I'm taking the other side. I want you to understand that your health comes first. I understand the need for you to make a living, but be mindful of the fact that your life is the most important thing. So one, as Bayo said, take breaks, relax, and as Kuro said, learn to delegate. But most importantly, Ortega, learn to utilize your weekends, especially Sundays. Rest, and rest. I know it's not easy, but you need to be alive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mazida, your hand has been up so long, I'm sure it's hurting you by now. Please go on.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, my arm has been aching. Thank you so much to the panelists. I've really enjoyed listening to you all. I've learned so much. I actually have 2 questions, 2 sort of completely different questions. I'll take them one by one. The first question is, in my current role, I work in management consulting, and one of the things about, I don't know if it's specific to my company or specific to management consulting, but my role is not so, I would say it's not so defined per se. So it means that oftentimes my day-to-day can look very, very different. I might be doing something wildly different on Monday and Friday. I'm doing something completely different again. So when I'm working in this kind of environment where, and one thing is that we don't even really have like KPIs, so it's very difficult for me to track impact and whatnot. How would I be able to say bring my A game? How is it that I would be able to say, okay, this, and the third is what makes me a good employee? Because even in I don't know if we've worked with like management consultants before, we know how to say a lot without really saying anything. In fact, I recently did get promoted, but if you ask me, I cannot tell you what it is that I did that I would say, oh, this is the thing that caused me to get promoted. This is the thing that I've been doing. So I'm not really good with tracking my own impact per se. So I don't know if I can get any guidance or whatnot in this regard.
Okay. That's question 1, or have you asked both?
That's the first question. Yes.
Okay.
I don't know. Should I bring the second question now, or maybe I can wait?
Just bring it now. Don't worry. We have capacity.
Okay. Okay. Now, my second question is, I studied engineering in school, and when I was studying engineering, I realized, oh, this thing is not for me. So that's actually how I found myself in management consulting. And like over the last couple of years, I actually graduated recently in 2024. But doing like all the work I've done since I was in school and whatnot has always been kind of geared towards, okay, I think I have this skill or whatnot. I should just focus on that aspect. Recently, I have not actually found out that even though I'm good at it, in quotes, even though I'm good at it, it's not something that does bring me joy. For instance, it's not something that I find satisfying or whatnot. Even now, I'm currently considering my master's, and I still find myself looking towards, okay, what is it that I can do that still ties into what it is that I've done, so that I will not waste all my 5 years of engineering. I know that my actual interests are in psychology. My heart is in psychology. I want to be some kind of therapist in the future. I am very scared of of having to pivot like that, because, as I've mentioned, I am making progress in what I'm already in quote good at. So how do I know that, honestly, because I was even having a conversation with my mom recently about yes, my work is not bringing me joy. I'm just doing it, but like I don't feel anything. I just feel exhausted more often than not. So how do I tackle, because my fear now with transitioning is starting over, because I've spent like a couple of years, and now I feel like, I'm going to have to go back to school, spend maybe 3 years in school again before I now start again from entry level psychology or whatnot. So I'm very, very scared, and I'm not sure like how do I tackle this fear of like starting over, because I know that's where my heart is. Thank you so much.
There is blink. I'll call your name. Who wants to go first? Okay.
No, I was even saying call my name. Matilda, you need a coach. Yeah. And we can take this offline and I'll coach you on that. There's no need to be scared of transition, right? You need a coach, and I would coach you on that, because it's going to take us sessions, but it's good to be scared. It only shows that you're human. But one thing I'll leave with you, your experience you've gained in a couple of years you've been working won't go to waste, even if you decide to do psychology. So remember that. So that I would leave. Let's talk about coaching. Then you also talked about how you can track your impact. That I can give you a solution or guide you. So for you to track your impacts, it's easy. First and foremost, ensure that you send your brief weekly impact summaries to your manager. So, and that what it does is focus on the outcomes you've achieved, not just on tasks you've completed. Do you understand? So remember, we've said something, outcomes over activity. If nobody remembers anything today from this webinar, let's remember outcome over activities. Tasks are meant to be done, but the impact is usually done when there's an outcome. And that outcome directly impacts the business or your manager's, work, your own work, and the value you bring is seen. So start with narrating your impact. Just very brief weekly impact summaries to your manager. Don't talk about the tax, because like you said, on Monday you might be doing something, on Friday. So the outcome, put it. So I spoke with this client, this. And you've got what it takes to succeed. You have it already. Just put it in a very compact, brief summary and do that weekly. And it will be done. The person would see the work you do. So I'll leave this for now so others can talk.
Fantastic. I like the outcome weekly summary thing, because truly some people have a problem confirming what makes sense. And please note, she did not say task. What most people do is to write what they did, right? If what you did was a task in progress, like we call work in progress, and even you can point to the outcome, then it may not mean much to your supervisor. I heard someone say that on a podcast, and I totally agree with her. Give a weekly summary of the outcome that you achieved in the course of the week. Even if they continue to go like a ping pong, you'll still be able to pull something out every week. And then when it comes to appraisal, what have you done? Because we used to do this in banking. We used to beg everybody, anytime someone stops you and says, so tell me how your typical day goes, don't answer. Once they ask you that question, you're in trouble. They just keep quiet and say, I'm sorry for whatever I did, because there's no way you will talk about that typical day that they will not point something out in it. Focus on the outcome, put a weekly thing together, send it out. Let me give you a quick warning. Some bosses don't want your weekly outcome reports. I will say, why are you sending me this thing? Send it. The day they outright tell you, stop sending it to me, send it to yourself. Put it together like I sent to your boss. Send it from your Gmail to your official mail and do it every week. You get so used to it, you focus on outcomes. Fantastic idea with regards to what Mazida asked. Who's going next? Something tells me that Ola is itching to speak, so Ola is going next.
Okay, so I will chip in just a few things.
Okay.
Yes, like you rightly said, some managers will say, don't overburden me with your outcome, emails. And I've worked with managers of, different preference in terms of style. One thing I always say to myself is, if you ever sit me down at any point and you say, let's talk about your performance and how have you been doing, I will never lack something to tell you. Why? I keep something called a brag book. So similar to what you have just shared, it's every time you're sitting back, and I think this comes with a lot of A players, people who bring in their A game, were very reflective. So every day you're going back home at the end of every week. What was last week like? What did I really do? What did I achieve? Because if you don't do that extra processing, trust me, it's just an activity that you've put in and you let it go. So learn to keep a brag book, whether or not your organization has the culture of you submitting weekly reports or whatnot. Keep a brag book for yourself. At any point in time, if you're being asked, what have you achieved in the last 3 months? You should be able to speak to it. And not just in terms of, I did this work. Oh, I completed the report. You talked about being in management consulting for the person who asked the question. Regardless of what task it is, every task has a goal that it's hoping to achieve. There was a reason why that task was created. If they say, go to have a meeting with this client, there's a reason why you went there. What was the pain point for that client? And that's your goal. That's what you were trying to solve for. And that's how you can walk back to tracking your impact. Yeah. So why did I show up at that meeting? They've asked me to meet with Adebayo or Ahoy. Why am I speaking with her? Oh, it's because there's a pain point in her business. That's why you're there. So that helps you walk back to tracking your impact. I'll just leave it at that.
I'll pull out a quote before I go to MD, then Adebayo. Every task has a goal it is supposed to achieve. Please clock it and write Ola Adediji at the end of that. And next time you hear a John C. Maxwell quote, her own will be right by the side. I think every employee should remember this. And this is so apt. You just, hit a nerve there. If you don't know the goal that the task is supposed to achieve, you can stop midway. Forgive me. Everybody on the panel can agree to this. You can do what you think needs to be done, and in your mind, you've worked. I have this example I always share, and MD will speak right after. I ask a colleague of mine, say Musa or Isaac or anybody on the call, today is Friday, we have a meeting on Monday in the office, and we need to have bottled water in dispensers because weather is hot. So get us 20 bottled water, fill the water that we can use on Monday. The person I told to do the task sends a mail to admin on Friday and goes to sleep. And in the person's mind, I've done my job. Let me move it one step further. The person raises the invoice to purchase the water and then goes to sleep. Let me move it forward a bit. The person made sure they paid the vendor on Friday and then goes to sleep. What did I want out of the task? There should be water here. So long as there's no water in that room, anything you do is not task completion. So if you need to ask questions to understand why am I doing this, annoy your leaders once in a while, but ask them that question. So what do we want to do with this? If you do that all the time, you will not doubt whether you have performed on the job or not. Thank you guys so much. MD, Bayo, say something. So I won't be told, people won't say that I'm being partial. I'm letting women speak. And I'm not letting men speak. So men supporting men. Mutala, then Bayo.
Yeah, so I'm also part of those leaders that don't really like those weekly reports because one, I'm always in touch with what my staff are doing. I know what you're doing. So just imagine everybody sending you a weekly report. It becomes, you just clog your email. I think it's true. You just need somebody that would coach you and guide you appropriately. And as you said, if you don't know the goal, you can stop halfway and ask. I see this with a lot of employees. There's this Japanese saying that if you're on the wrong train, just drop on the next station, because the farther you go, the more problems you encounter. So let's learn to ask. Sometimes there's this fear that I don't want to bother my boss, but it's better to ask than do the wrong thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Bayo.
Oh, wow. I want to first speak. I know the first speaker has talked about the fear part. She said it's okay to fear, but I want to also add to that it's not okay for you to remain in that fear.
Yeah.
So, and that's where she talked about the fact that you need a coach, and MD has also reiterated on that point. So, and I would also like to let you know that the times in which you spend studying engineering and your management consulting right now, all of them would tie together when you study psychology, because it will bring structure thinking. You'll be able to solve problems. It will bring discipline, and you have depth in analytical thinking. So I won't want you to sit on that fear. Just put those things together, see how they marry, or see how they align, and see how they would function well for you in the next phase when you transition. That's for the aspect of fear. So the other question, when she was talking about she doesn't have a KPI, and she just got promoted. I would like to say that your supervisor or your line manager who promoted you would have known that you have contributed so much to the organization to have promoted you. So what you should do now is put a structure to what you've been doing that has not been measured, or that has not been captured, rather. That's the word. So see what problems you've solved, the decisions you've helped make, that you've influenced, rather, and the value you've created. Just put those things together and put it in that brag book Ola mentioned. Every other week, just put it on track on what you do weekly, and document it. If you don't document it, nobody will be able to sing your praise when time comes. You are the only one who will be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Awesome concepts. Awesome concepts. I heard of the brag book once. I don't do something similar. I do something similar, but not the same. I think you should note your own, just note what everybody said. And you can please private chat Ahoy on the call now, so that you guys can have that conversation. I flashed something a minute ago. I'll flash it again. The organization bringing this to you, I actually showed you a video at the very beginning. This is who we are, and this is what we do. If you want to develop yourself as a person, Murtala was the one who said that you don't have to wait to be sent on a training. You can learn by yourself. And sometimes learning in an instructor-led environment is faster with impact than going to learn where it is self-paced. So self-paced training is where you go online, I won't mention names, or you buy a course and then you can take it as you deem it fit. Most people don't finish those courses. I still need to crack why that is the case, but most times we buy courses online. We don't finish them. Instructor-led can be different. It can be 3, 4, 5 sessions and all of that. That's one thing. If you are recruiting in your company, you need someone to help you with recruitment, contact us. You're just trying to improve the person that you are, or you want to start doing your own business. All those things are things we can do with you. You will find contact numbers here. When you have training inquiries, just remember Purple Plethora and training is training@purpleplethora.com.ng. If it's anything else, recruitment, consulting, I'm doing business, I'm not making money, I can't find where my expenses are hurting me, just send a mail to consulting@purpleplethora.com.ng or reach out to us via all of these platforms. If you are still here, it means you still want to take some more. I have one thing that I think everybody should talk about. So in 2018, I think it was 2018 or 2018, my partner and I said, let's hire somebody. In fact, my partner said, hey, hold on, not yet. We can't afford it. So let's hire somebody and let's create the work environment that will make it work for us. Don't pay top dollar, but pay enough to cover the person's, bills, and let's work. So we hired somebody and told the person, you would work in a hybrid fashion. There was no name for it then, so we didn't call it hybrid. We just said you come to the office 2 days a week instead of 5. At first, he didn't want to take the job because he was asking himself, what kind of work are you doing that will not come to the office every day? You see, in that time, people used to measure attendance like it was work. Physical presence was work. We convinced him, eventually he joined. He's now one of the directors on the firm. And when COVID came and people started doing remote work, he was looking at me and wondering, did you know this was coming? I said, no, I didn't know. I just found a structure that worked for us. Why coming to the office every day, 5 days a week, when I don't need you here if you have a laptop and Wi-Fi and you can do my consulting work? All right. Now, 7, 8 years after, it is the world of work. People do remote work where they don't even show up at all, or they do hybrid work where they come once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. My question to the panelists, this A game we've been talking about all morning, how can you bring your A game to the workplace when your workplace is remote or partly remote? And this one, it would be nice to speak to it and leave the kind of nuggets you've been leaving so people can take it. Many people here work in those environments, and so you don't see your boss every day. So like Murtala said, people, I know what they are doing every day, so we talk. Yes, maybe sometimes you can do it online, but in many organizations, this is the reality today. How do you bring your A game to remote or hybrid work? Who wants to go first? So that I don't cause fights, please let a man go first so that they will not later on come and meet me and say, Kuro. So let's pick a man first. Bayo, how do you bring your A game to an organization where your work is remote or hybrid? After Bayo speaks, let me just do the lineup now. Bayo speaks first, then I'll take Ahoy will go next. Then MD. I want Ola to go last because she's in that space coaching people every day. All right. So, number 1, Adebayo.
Okay. Am I unmuted now?
You are. I can hear you. You're not muted.
Okay. So for a remote environment, it's way different from when you work physically, and that's why I think Mr. Kuro brought it up now for us to talk about that, and that comes with a lot of uniqueness in itself. You don't have to be present in this era, present in a 4 wall of an organization or of a building to deliver results, and that comes with. For instance, if you're working as a freelance, someone hand you over a logo, a brand development to do for him. It requires back and forth effective communication. So if you're working in a remote or hybrid environment, you have to show up at work at 9 o'clock, communicate to your employer, yes, I'm at my desk. If there's a way you measure attendance, show up and clock in immediately. Don't take for granted that I am working remotely, therefore I don't have to be at my desk at 9 a.m. So that's one. Make attendance very key. Communicate, just be visible in communication, and don't be silent the whole day. Also, I would like to say, you need to take control of your environment. And this comes with take control of your environment and understand that working remotely also require a way to manage that stress, because there's a stress that comes with you being in the 4 wall of your home and not stepping out to see other people. So you also have to understand that you have to find a way to work-life balance, because it can be psychological. You're at home, you woke up from your room, and you are in your room or in your dining, still working. You close, and you're still in that same environment. So you have to be able to also know, in recent time, if you work remote or hybrid, how to balance that. Do I want to take consistent break in between work? Do I want to take my 1 hour break and just take a walk around the environment, or ride the bicycle like I will do? I recently learned how to ride the bicycle, and that's very funny when I tell people that I don't know how to ride a bicycle right from the onset. I learned last year, and I do that consistently when I need to take that break, just because it can be stressful being in a work environment, your work environment, being in your home also. If you don't know how to manage that tact, that can also be stressful. So when you work from home, for you to bring your A game, know how to manage your environment. I think I will just allow the people who are skilled HR to go ahead with that. They could be able to bring more insight on this. But from my own point of view, that's the way I do it. I allow my environment to be creative enough so that it will make me think when I need to think creatively. I create a plan for myself every other day, and I work with that plan. At most times when I'm online working, I try to chat with my colleagues, just for them to be aware that I'm at work. I comment on issues that need to be commented right on time. I'm timely, and I work with that all the time. So it's very important those things are very important when you work remotely or in an hybrid setting.
I'm very glad that I started with Bayo, and I want my colleagues on this call to be listening with both their ears and their eyes and every sense organ. He's touching nerves. I like that he started it out, and he's addressing the issues as they are. In fact, if I were you, at the end of this conversation,
did we lose Kuro?
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to ask.
Okay, so we lost him there.
I believe so. Okay.
Just wait. I think he's back. Kuro, can you hear
no,
us?
back. Sorry, please go on. Yes.
Okay. So thank you so much, Adebayo. Adebayo had touched on some things. One thing I need us to understand that when we're working as A-game people, because right now all of us here we're now A-game employees, if we're employees. If we're working in a hybrid or remote setting, remember that this requires us to move from presence-based performance. Presence, meaning, I'm in the office 24/7, I'm this, no. You're going to the outcome-based. Remember what I said is outcome activity. Remember that always. So if you're not physically in the room and you're an in-game person, your results must be clear. The strength of your communication must be strong. So now I'll give you some tips, quick tips. Narrate your impact fast. Don't just do the work. Remember what I talked about impact summaries. I know MD said maybe step of the leader that don't want it every time. Good. Bravo. According to Allah, how do you bravo? Somewhere documented. Send it to yourself. Very important. Then be a loud communicator. What does that mean? In meetings, don't make noise, make nuisance. Presence felt early. So a solution to a problem very fast. Provide a clarifying insight within the first 10 minutes to establish your relevance. So now what does this mean? Before every meeting, check what is this about. Find out how can I be of value during this meeting. Understand that when you do that, you are it's not easy to forget that you're not in the room because they're feeling your impact, right? For your sphere of influence, remember I said that that's the one you have control over. So instead of waiting for instruction or you want to take instruction quickly, think of one digital process that is broken and propose a fix. So what does this? It demonstrates your leadership without authority. So you don't have the title yet, but they know that Kuro is that person, Lagbaja is that person, he's going to do it. The person that owns the technology, all the collaborative tools. So I know I'd worked in professional services before. We don't have collaboration. The one that knows how to collaborate with the clients on the tools. They're calling to say, oh, this person should do this, this person should do this. Very important. You have that. It's difficult to forget that you're not there physically because you're adding value and your impact is being felt. And the thing I want to say, saying that colleagues can mention that when he was talking, he talked about reaching out to colleagues that they know he's there. Saying that 10 minutes free for anybody to call to brainstorm on the work. So therefore, your colleagues know the impact to bring, your leaders understand the impact to bring, and you are then adding value. Where I will stop for now.
Interesting stuff. Impact. Impact being the keyword. MD. Remote work or hybrid work, how do you bring your A game to the table?
So thank you. Thank you so much. Once again, in my organization, we have two sets of people. We have people that are more productive while working remotely, and people that unfortunately mistake remote work for holidays. These are people that travel while working remotely, people that you can't reach via phone, and they also leave their emails unanswered. I guess our goal here is to turn all of us into employees that bring their A game to work. So for me, you have remote working tools. Ask yourself, how proficient are you? You know the IT skills you need to improve on. They might come as PowerPoint skills, presentation skills. Your organization doesn't know what you really need. So again, personal skill development is key. You should have dedicated workspaces. We're all Africans. Most of us live with other people. So you need a dedicated working space to kind of avoid distractions. Know what is expected of you and focus on delivering. And when we started this remote work in my organization, we faced a lot of issues. So it made us come up with a policy. We have senior executives, a remote working policy. So we have senior executives on this, senior people on this call. So just note that you might just need that remote work policy, and it would make your people sit up for those that are not doing the right thing, and then it will give them proper direction. Thank you.
Awesome. Remote work policy. Now we're at your table. Ola.
Okay, so remote work, it's interesting because the last 3 years before the last, prior to COVID, I worked remotely for roughly 3 years straight. And so, yes, it's interesting because you constantly have to juggle a lot. But if there's one big tip I'll leave is if you do work remotely or in any hybrid form, you have to learn to be visible in the right rooms. So it's not just showing up at every meeting or dropping a message everywhere across all of the social Slack channels or Teams channel on your workplace. It's being visible in the right rooms. And yes, you have to be visible in the right rooms. So I have a rule of thumb. I never attend a meeting and not put in something, whether it's a question to help stir up ideas, whether it's a comment to help people think differently, or something to contribute to the actual topic. And the only way you can get to that, like Ahoy said, is you have to prepare. You can't show up at meetings just, okay, it's another one on my calendar, click, and you go in and you just mope through the 1 hour and say nothing. No, you have to go in prepared. So for instance, as a practice for myself, when I do have some big meetings, I put 30 minutes or whatever, 15 minutes of prep time ahead. I want to look at all the relevant documentation or whatnot that speaks to that topic. And I'm asking myself, okay, so what's the next step that could possibly come out of this meeting? What value can I be adding? That will help you go informed. So whether it's remote, whether it's hybrid, and I would even say, even if you work physically, full-time on site, you have to be visible in the right rooms. The pressure or the struggle to be more visible in the right rooms when you work remotely is harder. So if it's one step for someone who is working full-time or on site, it's like 2 steps for you. So you have to put in intentionality to show that I'm not only working, I'm doing the right work. I'm doing strategic work here. I'm contributing. So I mean, we've said all the nice things that could help you build those foundational steps to get to become an A game employee, but you have to learn to be visible in the right rooms. The other thing I would say is intentionally build relationships. If you work remotely, that can be very tricky. And so sometimes you have to invest time to get something. I find opportunities to meet with leaders who are not necessarily in my sphere or who I don't interact with every day. And when those opportunities come up, you're presenting yourself and showcasing yourself as that person who is interested in the goal of the organization. You learn to get and then one interesting thing is they're also sharing with you back some interesting insights that your employees or your colleagues who are independent contributors like yours or individual contributors like yourself don't have. So intentionally build those relationships, whether it's check-in. And I also say, don't wait until you need people before you build those relationships with them. So let it not be that it's when I need Kuro or MD to help me deliver on something that I'm just talking to them for the first time. Meanwhile, I've been in this organization 2 years. Find opportunities. You have to create them. Either they come in form of networking if the company does have, opportunities for those hot moments. Oh, there's a pizza party. People are not going there because they just want to eat pizza. It's because they want to connect and network with other people.
Yeah.
So find those opportunities to help you. So I go in, it's somebody's retirement party. Okay. Am I busy? Yes. But can I meet one or two persons that can, that could be relevant to what I do? Yes. You know what? I'm attending. And so you're showing up and you're finding ways to intentionally create those moments so that when next I then come to MD or Ahoy and say, hey, I've got this work, this project in my area that intersects with your area. Guess what? We're not starting from the ground. We are conversing based on conversations we've had in the past. So visible in the right rooms, in addition to everything everyone else has shared. And then the other one is intentionally finding opportunities to build relationship. Relationship is so key. Doesn't mean you have to go in and share all of your personal stories and struggles. Everybody has theirs, so nobody really wants to hear more. But find what are the key things, what are the valuable things. And I say to myself, whether even if you're a leader, you probably have leaders. Every opportunity to meet with a leader is an opportunity to showcase yourself. So you're thinking on the spot, what can I be saying to this person to give them the perception that I'm not just one additional lady who works in HR, but this one is different. This one brings something to the table. That's all I would add to everything else.
I would have been upset with myself somewhat if the session ended and we didn't talk about that. I want to add one thing to the remote work conversation. We said we'll close at 11:30. We have 4 minutes. We will close at 11:30. But note this, remote work actually has benefits for the employee. First is work-life balance. If you use it well, you don't have to commute for so long like Ortega is doing, and you don't have to sit in a place that may or may not be comfortable for you. You save a lot of money from remote work, significant cost savings from lunch and from commute. That's what we offered the first guy we hired. You can lower stress and increase mental health if you maneuver remote work or hybrid work properly. You can become more productive. So people have timings where they're better at work. Morning people, night people. You don't have those options in the workplace. But remote work, you can do a lot in the morning and have less to do for the rest of the day. There's also flexibility of location. So yes, you can be in a different place doing your remote work. You can customize your work environment. And of course, there are better health opportunities. I just thought to mention those quickly so you can remember that remote work is not, in fact, it's not primarily done for the benefits of the organization. Yeah, there are costs. It's you that is being considered. But please make the best of it, as it were. Have I had fun? Yes. Have I learned? I have 4 pages. I'm moderator. I'm moderator. And I have where's my camera? Yes, I have all this written and I'm still writing as moderator. Try and imagine the person who came here with their A game as a participant. Yes, let's do that. Think of the person who came here with their A game as a participant. My name is Kuro John Ngobo. Just before we round off, we do this every time we have a proper conversation. which is conversations people don't like to talk about. We ask everybody on the call to put their videos on so that my colleagues can take a snapshot of those who were here and keep the memoirs. So if you don't mind, you haven't put lipstick and makeup on all day, no problems. We have 2 more minutes to go. Please put on your video. I can see Ortega. It's been a while. I should be in your office next week. By the way, Mutala, thank you very much. Mutala left his house to go and sit for this meeting. Thank you so much. Everybody on the call, videos up will be great. Adenike, hello, how are you doing? Can you do what?
Can I make an appeal?
Appeal. You have 20 seconds.
For those of us who stay to the end of this program,
yes,
I don't know if we can give them one of our products each. I can see 28 here on my device. Of any of our products to your office so that you can give to them. They are sanitizers, hand wash, and maybe glass cleaner. They are hygiene products for us to be safe. But those of us who work remotely may not, but I think it's a gift from us to all the participants at the end of this program. We can give them a bottle of each of our products. I don't know. I'll get them to you. Then maybe you share it to every person.
No, hold on. No, that me, I will even do more. You know, I like myself a lot. I need to find one of the products that is with me right now. So first of all, you cannot, let me introduce Vipron to you. Maybe Sean can help me get it. Somebody around, if you have the product, or Tega, if you have it, please show it. I don't want to leave this seat. So Vipron produces household products, things like hand washes, and I have one that I use. It's really cool. It's liquid when you look at the bottle. I don't want to get up. That's the see it in Sean's hand. Look for Lua Sean Mary, you see it. It's liquid, but when you press it, what comes out is lather. Lather is what we call foam. In fact, press it. We are demonstrating today. I'm really impressed. Thank you so much. Can you see that? It's lather coming out, not the liquid soap. So what it does is, first of all, it takes a longer time to finish. And I use it for one special thing. I have shoes that have, we're going to do advertising. If they're giving us products, must advertise for them. I have shoes that have white soles. And what I need to do is to get something with lather and a small brush. That's what I use it for. So because of that, they are already producing a small size that I can carry around with me and use to wash my shoes. Everybody on the call, if you want to be part of this, put on your video first. Because you can be an AI positioned somebody on this call. I need to see your video first. People like maybe on the call, Lolade, Samuel, take a screenshot of everybody. I already mentioned, if you want to get more information about things like this, sessions like this, send us your details. I put that in the chat section, your name, phone number, and WhatsApp number and email address. In fact, we will send you a recording of this session if you do that, so that beyond those who came in here, you can share with them. The world of work is one we have to take seriously. Trust me. I have people here from Canada. Nika is from, in fact, let me not go far. Let's just leave it as it is. So if you are here, you want that, put on your video. Samuel, let me know when you are ready. I put all the pancake and foundation and lintel I can. And I can't do anything about my hair, so we are going to leave it that way. If you laugh at me, if anybody on this call laughs at me, thank you very much to our panelists who have joined the session. I have learned, I've engaged, and I really think it will be valuable for anybody on the call. I have something I do before I leave, otherwise my colleagues are going to punish me for it. This is who we are, and this represents the sessions we're going to be having. We call them open sessions in the month of May. If you want to be a part of any of them, reach out to us. The first one will be about you and your money. Biggest challenge we have in Nigeria today is, how do I make my money last longer? So there'll be a session on Tuesday. The intention is to have it on Tuesday and do a repeat later in the month. So you should join that. Being Free, Financial Wellness and Investing Strategies. We have effective communication, interestingly, for remote teams, happening on Thursday the 7th. Effective communication for remote teams. Then building high performance teams, whether they are remote or not. And then value chain management and marketing. Anybody in sales, you need to understand the value chain of your clients so you can market across that value chain and get value from them. Even if you have a personal business of your own, this would help. And if you want to do this for your colleagues, people in your church or mosque, people in your association, let's know. We'll put it together for you anywhere in the world. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Our numbers are on the flyers, phone numbers, email addresses, everything. Reach out to us. I've had fun, trust me, and I've learned more. And I've had a serious conversation with very great professionals at no cost. They did this for free, by the way. So please, everybody, give the 4 of them a round of applause. And whether you want to do a physical applause or you want to give a thumb up, or please give them a round of applause. They just showed up and decided to bless you with this much value. If you are a hearer and you are not a doer, then you are going to impact yourself negatively. There's no point joining this session and not applying something you learned. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining in. Ekwe, Mutala, Adebayo, and Ola. No stress. These are also no stress panelists. They didn't stress me throughout in the build up to the program, and they showed up like we've been planning for 10 years. Ololade and Wumi, thank you for putting the back end work together. Samuel, setting us up, bringing us here, Sheung, guiding the conversation as COO. Wumi, blessing everybody on the team. For the rest of us, it's Workers' Day. Use the rest of Workers' Day to plan your work for May. When you finish working wherever you work in May, they should call you and say, come. What happened to you this month? That's what you should be focusing on in the month of May. Plan your May, be impactful, don't do plenty of work, and take all the nuggets away. Thank you very much for your time. We'll stay here for another 5 minutes and just give you jams, just jazz music for the next few minutes. But please make Workers' Day count for you. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a fantastic, great, and awesome day.
Thank you,
and
everyone.
If you want to say something, you can unmute to say something at this point. Thank our panelists. They did a great job. And I had fun. I'm going to have breakfast.
Ola, I would like to connect with you. Let's connect offline. Ola?
Yes, we should. I would find you on LinkedIn first, and then we'll take it from there.
Let me help you. Okay. All panelists will get all panelists' contacts.
Thank you very much, everyone.
That's good.
Thank you.
Everybody gets everybody's contacts. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right, bye-bye. Nice meeting
you
guys.
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, awesome session. Of course, team members, you know you're staying behind. Everyone else, have a fantastic weekend. We'll stay on the call for the next 5 minutes and just play you some music so you can relax.